Time for Super Elites qualifying action now. It should be really exciting in this particular battle because we've obviously had a very exciting start to the season in the Super Elites in 2018. Unfortunately, I regret to say that we were supposed to have a bit of a landmark this weekend with Mark Lawrence, you'll know, who is currently leading the Grand Masters title race, was supposed to start his 250th birelART UK race here this weekend. Unfortunately, for circumstances that are still being explained to us, he couldn't make his flight out of Edinburgh. He missed his flight for various reasons. He had difficulties in security, I gather, and unfortunately he missed his flight, and there were no other corresponding flights, so Mark Lawrence has been unable to make it this weekend, so he's going to have to wait for his 250th birelART UK start, which will be the first heat of Glanigor's Park. However, the 200th race start for Sam Dimolo is definitely going to be today. He is here, and that will take place in the pre-final. So Sam Dimolo's 200th ever start in a birelART UK Series paddock race. There he is. You can just make him out there, Sam Dimolo. We shaved that beard off at the last round last year. He's grown it right back again. And he will make his 200th race start, Sam Dimolo, today on the pre-final. So that's the double century for Sam Dimolo, the reigning Super Masters champion. But of course, in 2018, the Super Elites have been combined with the Super Masters. The Super Masters weight limit was dropped. The Super Elites weight limit was increased. And that man, the 297, Oliver Moy, is making his debut in the 2018 category in the Super Elites. Having been a junior last year, and he was one of the novices last year, he has stepped up to the Super Elites as he has come of age, and this is his first real test. He's been watching all three rounds, though, and he knows that this is going to be a very tough exercise. There's Jason Bradbury, the 8, as he gets ready. This has been a real coming-of-age season for Jason Bradbury. Lots of consistent points last year. So far this year, he has been very strong in qualifying, good pace throughout. It's in the races when things start to fall apart. He's had a lot of bad luck in the first 3 rounds of the championship, but in terms of pure pace, Jason Bradbury has what it takes to win races this year, so hopefully this is going to be a weekend where his form will change. Now, in the championship fight thus far, it has been absolutely astonishing. We've had a hat-trick for Sam Faulkner in all 3 rounds of the championship thus far. He has scored the maximum, 975 points, and has a lead over Matthew Pearce in the championship rate of an absolutely incredible 85 points. However, Sam Faulkner has been unable to attend this round of the championship, so Faulkner will have to drop this round whatever happens, because this is the round that he cannot race at. So Faulkner is very much in danger of seeing his title haul very much being decimated at the moment. So, the man who's finished second place 5 times thus far this year, Matthew Pearce, is currently second in the championship standings. There's Andy Cox just getting himself ready for action once again, as he is overseeing things, of course, in the birelART UK Series paddock. The man who's gone up against all sorts of great racing drivers in the past, including the likes of David Coulthard and Dario Franchitti. And what he doesn't know about karting in the UK really isn't worth knowing. But Harry Barlow, in 3rd position in the standings at the moment, has seen great consistency. He's battling away with his rival from last year, actually, for 2nd in the championship standings, along with Matthew Pearce, and that is Tyrone Stansfield, the man who's had 5 third places and a 2nd place finish in the final at Clay Pigeon. So Tyrone Stansfield didn't have a great weekend, unfortunately, last time out at the 3rd round of the championship. So it's a very difficult start to his season. And Tyrone Stansfield obviously is only 4 points back from Matthew Pearce and 2 back from Harry Barlow. Now, if you count Sam Dimolo in the fight as well, he is only 8 points behind Tyrone Stansfield. So if Sam Faulkner wasn't to continue the rest of the championship, the fight for the title would be a 4-horse race between Pearce, Barlow, Stansfield and Dimolo. The man who's chasing them down, the 2 men who are chasing them down, in fact, are Daniel Walden and Richard Evans. They are separated by a point in the championship standings, 6th and 7th. Richard Evans very nearly becoming the first man to beat Sam Faulkner in a straight fight, of course, last time out at Fulbeck. For those who weren't watching the action last time out, because of course we didn't have a live stream, but those who weren't here at Fulbeck and were only listening to Downforce UK, we had the most sensational Elites final last time out. Faulkner got caught out at the start on the run to that first chicane, as Richard Evans spooked him into that first chicane and spun him around. So That was a really interesting battle, and Faulkner obviously dropped to the back of the grid, but Faulkner fought his way up to second position and only really got the lead of the race due to a throttle issue for Richard Evans, in which he had to spend the last 2 or 3 laps of the race using the throttle by hand to tweak the engine, and it probably would have worked as well had he not lost all sensation in his fingers on the final lap. Still somehow managed to get the car home in second, but Richard Evans has definitely become the closest man to topple Sam Faulkner in a straight fight, but now it makes the championship battle, especially in terms of scoring points, wide open for this weekend because there is no Faulkner. So now it's a battle between Pearce, Barlow, Stansfield, Dimolo, Walden and Evans as to who can get the best crop of points from this weekend. Now obviously with this round having been originally scheduled to go ahead in March, there were a lot of drivers who couldn't make this rescheduled round because we got snowed off in March, and obviously this weekend has had to be moved to this weekend, which is a bit of a difficulty for a few people's schedules. So there are a few people missing, most notably Michael Roots, who was on the podium twice last time out at Fullbeck, unfortunately, and of course was battling for a victory before it all went awry in the final, sorry. So he's going to be an interesting absence from the field. There's a few other drivers who have scored good points in the early stages who'll be worth an interesting punt. Tom Massarella, Ben Hitch, Jason Bradbury and George Friday will all want to have a really good run here. Will Checkley's been scoring reasonably well and consistently, and he is 13th in the point standings at the moment from Dave Burns. And then obviously we have Ben Yeomans back in the paddock again after he sadly couldn't make it to Clay Pigeon, and he is here once again. Ian Williams is back, having missed last time out at Fullbeck. And there's a few other drivers who have made it here once again, of course. But we are now getting the whistle. Time to send us back out on the circuit once again. And let's have some great race action. It's sure to be a close battle as the drivers are going out. Tyrone Stansfield and Tom Massarella leading them out, with Oliver Moy making his 2018 primary start here this weekend at Whilton Mill. Should be a fascinating qualifying session. Now, interestingly, there are a few drivers who have watched the session begin and have not yet gone out. Sam Dimolo is one of them. He only puts in as many laps as he needs to do. That's always been his way. So a really strong start to proceedings at the moment as the drivers head out for the Elite qualifying session. Now, so far, it has been Matthew Pearce who has been the fastest driver consistently from qualifying in the first 3 weekends. He hasn't been pole position every time, but he's definitely been better over 1 lap than some of his other drivers. But that just means that with no Faulkner this weekend, it's going to be a very open and even contest in the Elites. The field is slightly depleted this weekend, based on the fact, of course, that this round was originally scheduled to take place in March, and then it had to be moved to this weekend. So rather sadly, some drivers were not able to make it, but they've done a reasonably good job. And we have a couple of returnees to the championship this weekend as well. Elliot Stanley is back in action, having been there at the start of the season and having missed a round or two. And also, for the one and only appearance in the 2018 season, the man who finished 5th in the Elites points last year, Tom Snape, is back in action once again this weekend. And he tells me that this is his only weekend this year. He's obviously focusing on his finances and his work, but this is his local round. He wanted to do it, so he is back out for this weekend. And I'm hoping that that's not the only round he'll do. Maybe he'll change his mind about the last round of the championship, also here at November. And then he'll be out again for that one. The times are now starting to come in. So the lap times are ticking over in the Elites. And thus far, as they run around the circuit in formation, it is first blood in the Elites qualifying session to Richard Evans, who has done a 46.0. I can see mid-45s definitely being the run of form here at Whilton Mill. Dan Walden currently second fastest as Elliot Stanley leaves the pits and heads out on circuit. So too does Ben Yeomans. Sam Dimolo has gone out now as well and is already second fastest on his first flying lap. Does a 46.228. Dan Walden is third, Barlow fourth from Friday, Snape, Will Checkley and Ben Hitch, then Oliver Moy and Carl Watts. David Darling is 11th from Tom Massarella, but that's going to change, and Richard Evans goes first. Moy goes second. Moy in his first ever lap of the 2018 qualifying season, pretty much. Tom Snape's gone second. Tom Snape has gone second behind Richard Evans. Out onto the circuit goes Ian Williams. When he's not racing a kart, he is actually filming for Alpha Live, so he's going to get his first taste of qualifying. And in behind him is the man who has been consistently the fastest over one lap, the number 3, Matthew Pearce. Keep an eye on him as he goes out on track, because Matthew Pearce is almost certainly going to be challenging for pole position. But at the moment, it's Evans, Snape and Moy in the top 3. Yet again, the first flying laps at Whilton Mill see a real couple of surprises. Now Barlow and Stansfield are getting into their stride. 3rd for Barlow, 5th for Stansfield. Snape is still 6th. Moy is up to 4th position again as Dan Walden goes fastest of all on a 45.7. So it's Walden, Evans, Barlow, Moy, Stansfield, Snape, Massaralla, Dimolo, Ben Hitch and George Friday now comes up to 10th place, just a whisker ahead of Bradbury. Then it's Carl Watt, Will Checkley, David Darling, Dave Burns, Elliot Stanley now comes up to 8th place. Dimolo goes back in a 7th with a personal best there of a .422. In behind David Darling, we've got Dave Burns. Solomon Patience is back again in the 210. Ian Williams, Ben Cook and Matthew Pearce. So Harry Barlow now goes to the top. What about that? A 45.512. And that's a really good run from Barlow. Richard Evans in 2nd. Walden is 3rd from Moy, Stansfield, Snape, Dimolo, Massaralla, Stanley and Hitch. Well, Matthew Pearce has just completed his first flying lap. But that's not going to be representative of where he'll start the races. He's got a lot more speed in him. So the 49.0 is his first banker lap. As Stanley now breaks in a 5th position. And now Yeomans comes up in a 4th place. So it's Barlow, Evans, Walden, Yeomans, Moy, Stanley, Stansfield, Snape, Dimolo and Massaralla. This is a great looking grid at the moment on this 1,128 metre circuit here at Whilton Mill. Over the line comes Stansfield. He goes 4th. Massaralla goes 5th. Bradbury's up to 11th. So the times are still tumbling, but Barlow is your leader from Evans, Walden, Stansfield, Massaralla and Yeomans. Moy is 7th from Stanley, Snape and Dimolo. So where is Matthew Pearce going to end up? That's the big question. Matthew Pearce will be on a flying lap and will want to go pretty quickly. Looks as though Bradbury's got a problem. I think Jason Bradbury's parked up. Yes, Jason Bradbury parked up there on the exit of Christmas. All sorts of problems with the car. So Jason Bradbury in trouble, and that's going to bring out the yellow flags into Christmas. So that's going to be a big burden for drivers wanting to do a good job in that particular part of the course. And obviously trying to get a faster lap time in is not going to work. So Oliver Moy eventually goes 5th, but then Massaralla displaces him straight away. So that's a bit awkward. Matthew Pearce, by the way, in the 3 has now come up to 8th place. They're going to need to move Bradbury's car fairly quickly because the yellow flags are still out on circuit. I think Bradbury has got the kart started again. Yes, he has. So Bradbury's going to get on the move again. So there he goes, back into the action once again. So now qualifying can get back up to speed once more. So that's good news. So Barlow, Evans, Walden, Pearce now 4th, Stansfield and Massaralla. So where is Matthew Pearce going to end up? He hasn't even really got himself properly dialed in yet. Richard Evans comes through, 2nd position at the moment, just .083 behind Harry Barlow, who's still the fastest man. Behind him on the road is Harry Barlow. So Barlow and Evans going round together. And they are 1st and 2nd at the moment in the timesheets. Walden is 3rd, just up the road from them as well. Harry Barlow just running around behind Evans, pushing Evans a little bit. These 3 are on the same bit of road and they're all going to start on the same bit of racetrack if things stay as they are. 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Barlow in the 301 will be 1st. Evans in the 2 will be 2nd. Walden in the 241 will be 3rd. Now where's Matthew Pearce going to start? The number 3. Dialing in and getting some lap times, but currently he's only 4th fastest. Has he got any more in the tank? We'll find out. But at the moment, it is Barlow in front of Evans and Walden. Evans looks to have started a decent qualifying lap this time by. He's got himself dialed in there behind Dan Walden. And with just 2.5 minutes left on the clock, it's looking good for those guys to make a good run. Now, George Friday's just moved himself up in a 12th place on the grid. Good run there. Tom Snape comes back up to 9th position. So once again, another good run from Tom Snape as he puts himself into the top 10 on his first and, so what he says, only appearance of the 2018 season. I bet he'll want to come back in time for the last round of the championship at the very least in November, especially with this kind of pace. Evans is on a good lap though. Let's see what he can do, stuck behind Dan Walden. Walden across the line. Does he improve? No, he does not, nor does Evans. I think they've hit a peak. Oh, and that's Ben Yeomans. and Jason Bradbury. Oh, sorry, no, Ben Yeoman's in a similar suit, of course, now to Jason Bradbury. My apologies, because they run in the same outfit. Jason Bradbury's still pounding around the circuit, but Ben Yeomans has pulled off the circuit. Now, where is that? That's up at Fine Lady that he's come off there on the run-up Manuel's Bank. So Ben Yeomans is only going to be a best of 8th place. And that's if nobody else overtakes him in the timesheets. But Snape, Dimolo, Stanley and Williams are all fairly close in together. 16 drivers separated by less than a second at the moment. I think Richard Evans has done all he can. He's pulling in. So Richard Evans is going to remain 3rd because Matthew Pearce has gone fastest of all. Matthew Pearce has done a 45.468. So this is what we were saying. Matthew Pearce is usually a driver fighting for pole position, and here he is coming through. Matthew Pearce is going to fly through and continue on. Has he got an even faster lap underneath him? No, it is still a 45.6. That would be good enough on its own for 3rd place. But Matthew Pearce is the fastest man out there, 45.468. He beats Barlow, Evans and Walden with that previous run. Stansfield is 5th, then it's Massarella, Moy, Yeomans, Snape and Dimolo. From Elliot Stanley 11th, that man, Ian Williams, is 12th. Then it is Friday, Watt, Bradbury, Hitch, Checkley, Burns, Darling. And then, of course, we have Solomon Patience and Ben Cook. So, Matthew Pearce has once again found the fast lap he was after and has put himself into the lead of the standings. So Matthew Pearce looks like he's going to run around the circuit one last time. And Pearce is on a good lap. 45.468 is the one to beat. He's just done a 46.3, so he's not on his fastest lap by any means. But a lot of drivers have already stated with their intent of not doing any more laps that is as far as they're going to go. So the checkered flag comes out on the session. And that is it. My goodness, this is going to be an interesting one. Based on qualifying, we are in for a real treat today. Matthew Pearce goes fastest of all as everybody else looks as though they're going to peel off and into the pits. The only man who's going to continue on the lap is the 169 of Ben Cook, the new boy. And Ben Cook comes across the line. He's still trying to make improvements, but this is his first weekend in the championship, so give him some breathing room. He's still doing a reasonable job. Snape crosses the line, having got 9th position. Bradbury does a personal best, but it's only good enough for 15th place. So Matthew Pearce is pole position. That man, Solomon Patience, has done a good job. Another one of our novices. 1.3 seconds off the pace. That's a lot closer than he was at the start of the season. So Matthew Pearce has done an absolutely cracking job. Yet again, he saves it up and gets a beautiful banker lap and goes fastest of all in qualifying. So Matthew Pearce will start from pole in the first race. Harry Barlow 2nd from Richard Evans and Dan Walden. Then Tyrone Stansfield and Tom Massarella. Oliver Moy 7th on his first appearance in 2018. That's really exciting stuff. Ben Yeomans in 8th place. Tom Snape, also in his first outing of 2018, is 9th fastest ahead of Sam Demolo. Elliot Stanley, Ian Williams, George Friday and Carl Watt are next in the line. And then behind them is Jason Bradbury in 15th from Ben Hitch, Will Checkley and Dave Burns. Rounding out the top 20 are David Darling and Solomon Patience, just a whisker in front of Ben Cook. So the Super Elites 125 class is going to be very close again, but great to see some good performances there, in particular from Oliver Moy and Tom Snape making their first appearances of 2018, and they've done a sensational job. Really, really good stuff. Harry Barlow seems happy with a front row start, 2nd position. And he's well deserving of that. Just a whisker behind Matthew Pearce. So big points on the march then for Harry Barlow if things continue as they are. Really exciting start to the weekend for several drivers. Good pace from Dan Walden too on the 2nd row of that starting grid alongside Richard Evans. But with Matthew Pearce still the fastest over one lap, he's going to be a tough one to beat today. The cadets race is going to be the first race of the day. And the heats are not far away from getting off to the march. We're going to start that very, very shortly. So this is the last race before our lunch break, and it is the birelART Super Elites 125 first heat. And obviously this is going to be an interesting battle because we've got an absence of the championship leader who has won all 9 of the first 9 races of the season, Sam Faulkner. A trio of hat-tricks from the first 3 weekends at Llandau, at Clay Pigeon, and of course dramatically at Fulbeck, where he fought from last place at the first hairpin, facing the wrong way after spinning and fighting his way right back up to the victory. Nobody is still quite sure how he did that, by the way, but somehow he did. Meanwhile, though, he is not here this weekend. Exams have kept him away, and it's now open season for the remainder of the runners in the championship battle, which means that there's plenty of points to gain, a deficit of 85 points to make up. And that means that this weekend there are several drivers, including this guy, Harry Barlow, starting from the sharp end of the field, who will want to gain plenty of points this weekend and potentially take his first ever win as a senior. His highest finish this year is a third place, which he took in the final at Clay Pigeon, but his pace this weekend has been pretty sensational thus far, and he is on the front row of that starting grid on merit and absolutely correctly. And it's going to be interesting to see if he can get one over on Matthew Pearce, who has had 5 second places so far this year. So whatever happens, we're going to get a new winner this weekend, because Faulkner has won 9 from 9 and he's not here. So we'll get a new winner this weekend. But Matthew Pearce is definitely in pole position, both time-wise and to do that, having had a very impressive start to his season. 5 second places and a really strong performance throughout the course of his season. His season only really coming undone at that rather unfortunate final at Clay Pigeon when he was battling for the victory. Lost out to Sam Faulkner after an overtaking move, and then Richard Evans saw a gap and went for it, and unfortunately both of them came off at the same time. And that really wrecked both of their weekends, having got good points hauls up to that point. But Richard Evans had a cracking weekend last time out at Fullbeck with 2 second places, including in the final, when ultimately he should have and probably could have won the race, and would certainly have done so had it not been for a throttle cable failure at the closing stages of that final, which he was leading up to that point. This man, Tyrone Stansfield, at 2.99, the reigning junior champion, has had a good start to the season as well. 6 top 3 finishes so far, 5 third places in the first 5 races of the year, and that second place finish at Clay Pigeon. So a really good start to the season for Tyrone Stansfield, the young man from Ty Green in Braintree. But this is an interesting weekend with so many drivers, including that man, Oliver Moy, out to prove himself in his first weekend in 2018. Matthew Pearce and Harry Barlow on the front row of the starting grid, less than 1/10 of a second between them in qualifying. Richard Evans third on the grid with Dan Walden in 4th position. There is Richard Evans as he takes up his residency on that inside line of the second row. Tyrone Stansfield and Thomas Massarella, good battlers, great friends and great rivals as they battle away on that third row of the starting grid. Oliver Moy, in his first weekend of 2018, stepping up from juniors to seniors, is right up at the sharp end too, in 7th place. Ben Yeomans is 8th position. The car failed in qualifying after setting that time, but he keeps his 8th place and hopefully the problem is fixed. Tom Snape in his first appearance of 2018, alongside Sam Dimolo, the reigning Masters champion. Elliot Stanley and Ian Williams line up together on the 6th row of the grid. Good performances from them. George Friday and Jason Bradbury, frustrated but ever on the up, which is good to see them both there on the 7th row of the grid. Ben Hitch doing well there to get 15th on the grid, with Will Checkley doing well in 16th place, finally seeming to click with the kart a little bit more. Dave Burns and David Darling are there together on the 9th row of the grid, with Solomon Patience and Carl Watt. Unfortunately, his times from the qualifying session, which would have been good enough for 15th place, his times excluded, and unfortunately a similar fate for Ben Cook. Several drivers absent because of this rescheduled round as Matt Daniels gets himself into position on the starting line. But several drivers missing because of the fact that this weekend, of course, has been moved from the first round of the championship back in March, when we were snowed under when we got here on the Sunday morning back in March. 2 inches under snow we were, so we couldn't race, of course. So we've had to move this first round of the championship to this weekend, which makes it technically the 4th round of the championship, although it is still called round 1. So we're doing things in a very Star Wars style order. But unfortunately, a big absence from this one is Mark Lawrence, because he was due to be here, no problem at all. And unfortunately, for various difficulties, he ended up missing his flight from Edinburgh down here, and sadly was not able to get another one. There was no other flights available, so he was due to make his 250th race start in the birelART UK Series in race 1, this very race. Now he'll have to wait for GYG. The first race of that weekend will be Mark Lawrence's 250th race start in the birelART UK Series, and I'm sure that everybody who had 250th celebrations things all brought here and ready for him will give him no end of teasing next month in July, when he shows up and goes, well, what can I say? I didn't mean to miss it. I just did. There's nothing I can do about it. But that means that the Grandmaster points tally is going to be beaten a little bit and got into by David Darling, who's going to get a few more points on the board. So David Darling looks like he's going to catch up a little bit in the points rankings for the Grandmasters and should come away with the victory in the final later on for the Grandmasters class. Although there is obviously going to be some good battles throughout the rest of the field, it's still unclear who's going to walk away as the second different winner in the 2018 birelART UK Series Super Elite season. It's been amazing racing all the way through the Super Elites thus far this year. We've had some cracking race action since they decided to combine the Super Elites and Super Masters grids from last year, lower the minimum weight for the Super Masters, increase the minimum weight from the Super Elites, throw them all into the same category with the same 125cc karts. A lot of drivers have struggled to get up to speed in the early stages, but they've loved the challenge and they are loving their racing this season. It is one of the toughest national championships in Great Britain, and it's been incredibly close from the off. Even though Faulkner has won 9 races out of 9, that doesn't suggest how close it's been. It's been very tight all the way through the field, and certainly from qualifying, it's been incredibly close. But Matthew Pearce on pole position with Harry Barlow alongside him, with Richard Evans and Dan Walden in behind, are going to want to have a positive start to proceedings. So they leave the pits ready for what is going to be the final race of the morning session before we head into the action later. And this is going to be a really exciting battle. So the drivers are running around on their formation laps, 2 laps of the circuit, of course, to get themselves warmed up. Hannah and Jamie watching at home. Come on, Harry Barlow from the front row of the starting grid. He will go off. And this is his highest qualifying performance of the 2018 season, I do believe. I'm not sure he's had a pole position yet. It's certainly a second place for Harry Barlow. Very strong start, and it looks good as he loves this circuit very well indeed. He knows it well. He loves the battle. He loves this kart on the Whilton Mill circuit, and he's going to have a really exciting race of it. So here we go once again as the drivers go around. 2 formation laps around the Whilton Mill circuit, and it's not clear who's going to get the victory. There's at least 6 drivers in the top 10 that could win the first race of the weekend, but it's so close in this battle that it's unclear really as to who's going to take the full advantage of it. There are plenty of race winners in this gaggle of karts. Matthew Pearce, Harry Barlow, Richard Evans, Dan Walden, Tyrone Stansfield, Thomas Massaralla, Oliver Moy, of course, Ben Yeomans, Tom Snape and Sam Dimolo. All 10 of those drivers, in my opinion, are good enough to win. So it is going to be a tough one. Sam Faulkner watching at home, in fact, because he can't be here this weekend. But he's giving the thumbs up to Dan Walden. Come on, Dan. From 4th on the grid, he's got a really good chance here of getting on the podium at least, but a victory's still in the offing. So let's see how it goes. Good luck to George Friday, watching and cheering as always from down under, as far away as Australia and Canada for the Valverdes, who always tune into birelART racing as well. We are global. It's not just a national championship anymore. The revs rise as they go down the tram lines here at Whilton Mill. It's going to be a good start. Yes, it is. Perfect start. Away we go. And it's a cracking start from Matthew Pearce. Richard Evans slots in a second position. It's a clean start further back. And Dan Walden's already making an inroad into Harry Barlow, but he can't get there. Barlow's going to use Walden to try and get past Evans. They have to slot back into position. As round the outside, Tyrone Stansfield slots himself in a 6th behind Massaralla. Oliver Moy still there in 7th place. No problems at all for him as Yeoman slots into 8th place. Snape is still there, but Dimolo's at the inside. And there's contact between Moy and Yeomans. They drift wide. Snape has nowhere to go. And Dimolo slots himself on the inside of Ian Williams to slot himself neatly into 7th position. Williams is now 8th, Moy is 9th, and Bradbury's 10th in front of Stanley. Then it's George Friday. So a cracking start, but a little bit messy there between Moy and Yeomans. I wonder if that was just them coming a little bit further across. I want to see it again. Fortunately, I've got the stream next to me just a couple of seconds further back, but I'd love to see a replay of those two coming together as Yeomans has rejoined the circuit right at the back of the field. But at the front of this race, it is still Matthew Pearce in front of his close battler, Richard Evans, then Barlow, Walden, Massaralla and Stansfield. So they battle away on this opening lap. Let's look at that again as they come through. You could just see Moy trying to come around the outside of Yeomans, and basically Moy went up in the air. Yeomans hit the brake and got spat out to the side, leaving poor Tom Snape nowhere to go. But Snape has dropped to 18th, Yeomans has dropped to 21st, and has he even come through? I think Yeomans is actually out of the race. So Yeomans has not come through. Will Checkley tries to go for the move on Solomon Patience and now has Tom Snake to deal with. But yeah, Yeomans is out of the race, unfortunately. So Yeomans' day has already taken a massive hammer blow. There goes Dan Walden through on Harry Barlow. So Dan Walden is up to third place now as he makes his bid on Harry Barlow and gets through. Barlow trying to come back at him. Walden is going to use that inside line to fend him off through to Ashby and through to through to Parker, sorry. So they go through Osiers. A good start to proceedings. Now, that was an interesting sound effect from an engine. I wonder if there's somebody with a problem out there. As Sam Dimolo, who's caught right up to the back of Tyrone Stansfield. We saw these two battle briefly last time out at Fulbeck. The reigning junior champion and the reigning Masters champion battling away for supremacy. Matthew Pearce is still the leader. A warning for track limits for Ben Cook in his first weekend in the championship. Fair enough, but he is doing a good job. Pearce in the lead. Second is Evans. Third is Walden now in front of Harry Barlow. From Massarella, Stansfield and Dimolo. Then it's Williams, Moy and Stanley in front of Jason Bradbury fighting with George Friday and Ben Hitch. Then it is Watt. And then we have Dave Burns in front of Checkley, Patience, Snake, and that's got to be Ben Cook. No, it's my apologies, it's David Darling. Ben Cook has retired. Ben Cook has retired on the infield. There he is, the 169. He's come off on the way, that's basically the Zulu section of the course in the shorter configuration of the circuit. Looks like a warning's gone out to Will Checkley, the 240. But Matthew Pearce is your race leader from Evans, Walden, Barlow, Massarella, Stansfield and Dimolo. Great racing, good battling as Massarella tries to line up Harry Barlow. No major problems at the moment from the leaders as they continue to squabble, but Pearce has got Evans for company. Third is Walden, fourth is Barlow. Massarella, Stansfield and Dimolo still pretty close in. As Bradbury, Friday and Ben Hitch are having a terrific squabble over 11th place. No change for position, but Friday is reeling in Bradbury and giving him a massive hard time in the midfield. So Friday's fighting hard. Dimolo's caught up to the back of this queue for third position with Walden, Barlow, Massarella and Stansfield. So Dimolo has got a chance to move forward. There's your man in second place, the number 2 of Richard Evans. Still smarting after very nearly getting the victory last time out at Fulbeck and not quite managing it because of mechanical problems in the closing stages allowing Faulkner to come through. Good to note another elite driver who should be on this starting grid and isn't, Roland Bredner. We need to get you out for the next round of the championship. But sadly, it hasn't happened just yet. Bit of a moment there for Harry Barlow, actually. A bit of a moment as Barlow got it wide through Parker. And as they come through, Osiers is now into the clutches of Massarella and Stansfield. And there goes Massarella through to the lead. And Stansfield's going to get through as well. Barlow's going to drop behind both of them. So Massarella through in a fifth. Massarella through in a fourth. Stansfield through in a fifth. Barlow slots in a sixth place. Let's watch that move again. That was beautifully done from Massarella. He just waited for the first part of the apex, knocked it up the inside, and that was beautifully done. So a good bit of driving there. Stansfield now all over the back of Massarella. Now Barlow's having to defend from Sam Dimolo. As further back, that's Will Checkley battling away with Dave Burns. They're swapping positions as they go. Oh, and a big problem for Checkley. Checkley's out of the race. Checkley's out of the race at Inkermans. So Checkley has come off the course and is out of the card himself as Dimolo makes the move for Barlow, but Will Checkley is out of this race, I'm afraid to say. You'll see him in the back of your picture, having pulled off the circuit, just about a white dot in the distance, but Will Checkley, sadly, battling away for position. His race is over. There he is. What a shame for Will Checkley. Going so well this time. But unfortunately, it was not to be. Half a second back from Matthew Pearce. Your leader is Richard Evans. Richard Evans, second place. Then it's Walden, Massarella, Stansfield, Barlow, Dimolo, Williams, Moy and Stanley. Terrific racing at the moment as Stansfield is starting to line up Tom Massarella once again. They are inseparable in the paddock, these two, Massarella and Stansfield. Great buddies, great chums, and now they are racing together on the same bit of racetrack. They know each other's moves. They know they're not going to do anything stupid with each other. Massarella defending down the back straight. Stansfield opens up the door anyway and gets through. Tightens up to the inside. Massarella's going to try and get him on the undercut on the switchback, but Stansfield's through and up in a fourth place. Good move from Tyrone Stansfield. Now, all of that battling has brought Williams onto the back of the field. Let's watch again as Stansfield lines him up. Massarella's defending that straight, but Stansfield just makes the move anyway. Cuts him off to the exit, and that's beautifully done. Lined up beautifully and gets the place. So Stansfield through to fourth, Massarella, Barlow and Dimolo in close proximity. Ian Williams has tightened up to 8th place. This is a great run from Ian Williams, I have to say. Got himself into a good position, has kept it, and is continuing to control the pace in 8th position. He's only just in there behind Sam Dimolo. Let's not forget, Sam Dimolo is the reigning Supermasters champion. So Ian Williams is having a great run here. But out in front, it is still Matthew Pearce, 0.6 of a second ahead of Richard Evans, who has not given up on the win. Dan Walden has not given up on second either. These four, Stansfield, Massarella, Barlow and Dimolo, being chased by Williams, but they have dropped completely off the top three. Here comes Barlow, a late lunge on the inside of Massarella. Can't get through, has to hang back. Good effort, though, from Barlow as he tries to make his way on the inside. Was never going to happen in the end. So has to wait for another opportunity. As they dive down the hill once again. There's Pearce, Evans, Walden in third. Then it is Stansfield, Massarella, Barlow, Williams. Where's Dimolo? Where is Sam Dimolo? Oh, he's off. Sam Dimolo is off at the boot. I didn't see that. My apologies. Dimolo is out of the race. A mechanical problem has put Sam Dimolo out of the race at the toe of the boot. The reigning Supermasters champion in the 125, Sam Dimolo, battling away for the top 6. He's out of it. And look at Friday as he now makes a bid to go past Bradbury. Bradbury cuts across. Friday's going to try and get him on the switchback. But Sam Dimolo out of the race. That is a big one, a big name to fall. So, the only champion in this field now is Tyrone Stansfield. The reigning junior champion is Friday, gets up and over on the curbs, up on the inside of Bradbury, and so too through goes Ben Hitch in the 160. Great move from George Friday. Elbows raised as he gets his way through. That's a beautiful little overtaking move as they pass Sam Dimolo. But a brilliant bit of overtaking there from George Friday. Sees him into the top 10. An important moment for Friday's weekend there. Into the last lap we have gone, and Matthew Pearce has Richard Evans and Dan Walden well nailed at the moment, and it's going to be big points for these three in the fight back in the championship standings. But Matthew Pearce has looked like a race winner all season long, as has Richard Evans, so to see them first and second is no surprise. Dan Walden, a feisty drive in third position as well to stay with them, so that's a good podium. But for Matthew Pearce, it's a case of, at last, I've got a victory on the board. I know I should have converted a pole position to a win by now, but now he has actually done it. Matthew Pearce gets the victory. Second is Richard Evans. Third is Dan Walden from Stansfield, Massarella, Barlow and Williams. Oliver Moy, 8th in his first appearance of the season from Stanley, and George Friday fighting back to 10th place. Great race. Hitch in 11th from Bradbury. Then it's Watt, Dave Burns, Solomon Patience and David Darling, with retirements aplenty, I have to say. It's been a real race of attrition, this one. There was Will Checkley just watching from the sidelines. Retirements for Dimolo, Checkley, Tom Snape, Ben Cook and Ben Yeomans. Big crop of retirements, only 16 carts crossing the finish line in the end. But what a race for Matthew Pearce, Richard Evans and Dan Walden. Top three in the first race of the weekend. Stansfield in fourth. Massarella and Barlow continuing their good year in the seniors as their debut year in the seniors in the top 6. Williams a fighting 7th place. Good job from him. From Oliver Moy, a great first race of the season in 8th place. From Elliot Stanley and George Friday. Good to see them both back in the top 10. They both deserve to be there. Ben Hitch and Jason Bradbury, Carl Watt, Dave Burns, Solomon Patience and David Darling, the only other finishers of the race, with retirements from the reigning Masters champion Sam Dimolo with mechanical problems, Will Checkley likewise, and then Tom Snape, Ben Cook and Ben Yeomans all out of the race as well. Very dramatic from the birelART Super Elites for the first race of the day, and that concludes the morning session here from Whilton Mill. There will be more race action, of course, after our lunch break when we come back for the pre-finals and the finals in each of the three classes. It is set to be a fantastic race day as we continue on here at Whilton Mill, but that's 3 races done with 6 to go at the halfway point of the 2018 birelART UK Series competitions. And we have 3 very, very deserving and very delighted winners in Oakley Keatley in the cadets, a junior victory for Harry Graham and an elites victory for Matthew Pearce. It's a good start to the day here at Whilton Mill. Join us after our lunch break when there'll be plenty more race action to come from Whilton Mill. Well, we're getting ready for the Elites pre-final as the drivers will make their way to the dummy grid shortly, and I am informed that the reason that Tom Snape is not going to be starting the second race is due to an incident in the first race where he ended up hurting his ribs, unfortunately. So that is the official line that I've been given. So sadly, he will now be a spectator for the remainder of the meeting. That's a real shame because his speed was absolutely fantastic in the first race. He was in the top 10 on his first qualifying session back to this new formula. Just looking at Sam Dimolo and Harry Barlow deep in conversation on the pit wall as they get themselves ready for the action here at Whilton Mill. And that's Alicia Parmowski's car being returned to the paddock. That's the first time all year that Alicia Parmowski has failed to finish a race. And that's a rather sad statistic, but in terms of her raw pace, she was up in the top 10, no problems at all, battling away for supremacy. So that was a rookie victory there for Alicia Parmowski, cruelly taken away. But the good thing is there is one race to go and she can still fight back for that position. That's the 300 kart of Ian Williams being put into position. A 7th place in race 1 for Ian Williams, a very good result, and he'll be more than happy with that, especially considering that when he's not racing, he's holding a camera for Alpha Live most of the time. Knows his way around this place both on and off the track very, very well indeed. But good to see him doing a good job on track this time, and in 7th position in race 1. Tyrone Stansfield, the 299, should be one for a bet of the top 3 this time. Dan Walden is definitely going to be a strong challenge for the victory again. 3rd position in race 1, plenty of good battles to come. Well, there's set to be some really exciting battles for the drivers this time as they continue to watch array around the circuit. If you're watching a particular driver or supporting someone wherever it might be that you are in the world, we've got people watching all the way from Australia for their man George Friday here this weekend. And George Friday got himself into the top 10 beautifully in that first race. So good to see that he's keeping the Down Under Massive very, very entertained. He clearly got up and had his googies and bacon this morning. Oh yes, I know my Australian terminology. Harry Barlow getting himself ready for the action there from the front end of the grid, having a good battle in race 1. Not quite where he wanted to finish, but there's still plenty of time to go. And good racing to come as he battles with the likes of Tyrone Stansfield. That's David Darling just getting some final instruction. The lone grandmaster in the field today. And Tyrone Stansfield, close camera to us as he gets himself ready for action, having had some podiums already this year. And there's another one to keep an eye on, actually. The 297 Oliver Moy was right up at the sharp end. This is only his first weekend of the season, don't forget. He was a rookie in the junior campaign last year, and he was the 2nd best rookie over the course of the season, just behind Connor Brown. So to go straight into Super Elites the first weekend in this new format and be up at the sharp end, that's a really, really strong start to his season. Ben Yeomans, just having a quick check on something with Andy Cox, as the birelART mechanics. A lot of the drivers will assign themselves their own birelART mechanic. Others will have a mechanic of their own that they've already assigned. That man at the front right, that is Matthew Pearce. White helmet, red rose on the top. Matthew Pearce getting himself ready for battle. As the battle is going to be a really exciting battle. And Matthew Pearce is going for his 2nd win of the season after a great drive in race 1. Here is the grid. Matthew Pearce and Richard Evans on the front row of the starting grid. And they'll be very, very close together from the start. Dan Walden and Tyrone Stansfield on the 2nd row. That man, Tom Massaralla, is next. And he will line up beside Harry Barlow on the 3rd row of the grid. And behind that top 6, it's still pretty much anybody's guess as to what will happen next. Ian Williams and Oliver Moy will be on that 4th row of the starting grid. Great performances from both of them and very worthy to see them in those positions. 9th and 10th, Elliot Stanley and George Friday in the top 10, and will be wanting to stay there as much as they possibly can. 11th is Ben Hitch, and alongside him is the fighting Jason Bradbury as he continues to make good progress in the 2018 season. And also in the mix there we have Carl Watt and Dave Burns as they battle for positions. 15th and 16th on the grid we have Solomon Patience, the novice, alongside the sole grandmaster on the grid, David Darling. We were supposed to have Mark Lawrence as well, but he missed his flight to get here, and there were no other flights, so he ended up watching from home, unfortunately, in Edinburgh, which I'm sure he is. Sam Dimolo and Will Checkley together on the 9th row of the grid, both retiring for mechanical problems. Tom Snape should be 19th on the grid, but is watching due to hurting his ribs in that first race. Ben Cook, 20th. He was out of the race as well. And Ben Yeomans was the first major retirement from the race after a problem in the early stages. So watch him fight back from 21st on the grid. He'll certainly not finish as low as 21st. If I know Ben Yeomans, he'll be fighting his way through pretty rapidly. So the racing is due to continue in fine form. So it's going to be a very exciting battle as the drivers continue in fine form in the Super Elites 125. It's going to be a great battle here at Whilton Mill. It's been a really exciting race weekend thus far. It should have been the first weekend of the year, of course, and we were supposed to hold it back in March on the second weekend, but the snow rather decided to invade, and I was the only person who got any laps of Whilton Mill that day. No, it wasn't on foot. It was in a moving vehicle. And it got sideways quite a lot, let's put it that way. So it was an interesting battle that we saw in race 1, and no doubt we're going to see again in a fine battle. We should see some pretty exciting races from these guys again. Matthew Pearce and Richard Evans basically disappearing out in front, and are hoping to continue that kind of form in the second race of the day. The pre-final is always an interesting one because you tend to see a few drivers that are out of position trying to charge their way forward and get themselves into a really sharp position. But it always ends up being a little more complicated than that by the time they actually get there. So you're always going to have a few drivers trying to push up to the top end and actually struggling because there's so many drivers who want to be at that sharp end. They're all taking risks. They're all making good work of it. But 65 points on the board from Matthew Pearce. A deficit of what was 85 points. Well, that's now just 20 back behind Sam Faulkner now, of course, before drop scores are taken into account. So that's a massive scalp for Matthew Pearce, who, if he keeps up this kind of pace, will take the lead of the Drivers' Championship by virtue of the fact that he has taken a win here and should continue to do so. But, of course, he will be very well aware of the fact that drop scores have still got to be taken into account. So even if he drops the final from race 3, the final from round 2, sorry, Clay Pigeon, and the obviously he would drop the heat and pre-final from Fulbeck, where things did not go according to plan. He would still be very much in contention for the championship if he has a decent run this weekend with dropped scores into account. He would not be a million miles behind Sam Faulkner, so the second half of the season would still see Matthew Pearce very much in contention for the championship, despite the fact that Sam is not here, because he would have to drop this round of the championship whatever happens. So if he has one more weekend where he has a mechanical problem, which he had a couple of times last year, of course, then there is still very much an open book for this championship. So missing around at this critical stage of the championship, very costly for Sam Faulkner, and he will know that watching at home, hoping desperately that the championship contenders don't score too many points. But Richard Evans has already got a second, Matthew Pearce has already got a win, so that is already looking likely to be going against him. So once drop scores are taken into account, it all tightens up a little bit at the end of this weekend. I'll try and come up with a bit of a preview before Glanigorse Park as to who the drivers are to keep an eye on. But two drivers in particular will be charging forward from the back of the grid in this one because they failed to finish the last one. That is Sam Dimolo and Ben Yeomans. Both of them will be wanting to fly through from the back of the grid, and they will definitely be forces to be reckoned with in that midfield. There'll be plenty of overtakes from them. Up at the front, well, it's still quite close to call. Richard Evans gets a good start and he's into the lead. Then it could be very tough for Matthew Pearce to beat him. Dan Walden is going to be very strong further back. The whistle has gone at the end of the pits. So when the green flag goes, that's when we'll be going round for our 2 formation laps. Away we go. So now let's see who gets the second win of the weekend. Is Matthew Pearce going to continue his new streak of wins, having got the first victory of his season under wraps last race here a short while ago? If he can make it 2, then that's definitely going to be a very strong performance. Here they come on their formation lap. They do 2 exploratory laps of this circuit here at Whilton Mill. You've got to be very respectful of this circuit because there's a lot of drops and peaks. Although you've got a couple of climbs, particularly up towards Christmas, it is quite a tough circuit. You've got to get it absolutely right. And you can get a real good rhythm and flow around here, particularly out of the toe of the boot. So the drivers are going to want to build up the speed, build up the brake temperature. Tyre temperature is obviously going to come up to tempo as well. But Matthew Pearce, the number 3 out in front, is going to want to continue his form from race 1 and hope that he can continue off in charge of the brigade. Evans, Walden, Stansfield, Barlow and Massarella will be in the top 6 with them. But this is really going to be very tough indeed to predict because you've got Pearce, Evans and Walden at the sharp end. They're all very much in contention to win. Stansfield's in the mix as well in 4th place. If he gets a good start, anything's possible. Barlow and Massarella are very strong around here. Massarella 5th on the grid, Barlow 6th. Now Evans is pointing towards Matthew Pearce. What was that all about? I'm not entirely sure what he was trying to say there. I'll try and keep an eye on it, but certainly there was a little bit of a gesture, a point towards Matthew Pearce off the start. Maybe he wants a good start from him and is just trying to remind him, let's keep this clean, mate. They go off the final corner. Evans wants a good start, so does Pearce. The engine revs rise, clean start. Cracking start from Walden. He pushes through in a 2nd position early doors. So it's now Pearce from Walden and Evans. And up to 4th place has come Massarella. Cracking start in front of Stansfield and Barlow. The field squabbles in behind as Williams tries to go right round the outside. Tucks through at Christmas and is in the mix. He chucks in there behind Barlow. Solomon Patience on the inside of Sam Dimolo, who goes right round the outside and picks up the place. Good move from Dimolo to make up some places already, and Ian Williams is off on the grass. He now drops to the back of the grid behind David Darling. So Williams has got to pick it up again, but Pearce is leading. Walden 2nd, Evans 3rd. Then it's Massarella, Stansfield and Barlow. And then we've got a good battle behind as we've got Oliver Moy. And then it is Stanley in front of Friday, Bradbury and Sam Dimolo. So a cracking start for Sam Dimolo as he has come right the way further forward. Absolutely terrific stuff. Brilliant battles thus far. And up the straight again into the right-hander at Christmas corner. Pearce is leading. Then it's Walden, Evans, Massarella. Getting very close now, Evans, to try and make a move on Walden in a 2nd position as they come through. A truly international championship, birelART, it seems. And the national championship is being watched at home, not just in Australia for George Friday, but also from Brazil by Silvano Silva, developing kart tracks for simulation. And they are watching along from Brazil to all of the action here in the birelART UK series. How about that? As Matthew Pearce has gone off. Matthew Pearce, battling for the victory, has gone off the road. Disaster for Pearce. Now I want to see that again because he's got damage to the rear bumper. He's going to be out of the race. Matthew Pearce will be out of this race. I want to see that one again. Let's see what happened. Well, Pearce had gone a long time ago. So let's see, well, hopefully we'll get a replay of what happened to Matthew Pearce, but he's out as Evans is going to go for the lead and takes it. Massarella through in a 2nd, is he? Walden's going to stay there to the inside line, 2 wheels on the grass and hangs on to it. Now Massarella gets back through on the inside. This race has suddenly blown wide open. Well, Matthew Pearce with a broken rear bumper is out of the race, but was that the reason he's out of the race, or was there another problem? Matthew Pearce, I didn't actually see what happened to him, unfortunately. I was looking at another part of the circuit at the wrong moment. So Evans is your leader, Massarella now 2nd, then it is Walden, Stansfield and Barlow. A big problem for Matthew Pearce as his race ends ridiculously early, and it's a disaster from his point of view. Dave Burns looks like his race is over as well. The 197 has come into the pits and retired at almost exactly the same time. But out in front it is Evans, in front of Massarella, Walden, Stansfield and Barlow. A 5-way scrap for the victory. We're going to get another different winner because Pearce is out and Faulkner's not here. So we're going to get a 3rd different winner in the Elites in 2018. It opens up the game big style. Walden trying to shake off Stansfield, but Massarella through in a 2nd place. Evans is your leader. Massarella, Walden, Stansfield, and here comes Barlow up the inside of Stansfield for 4th position in the Christmas. And he's there. Good move, and that's going to give Oliver Moy a bit of a run at Stansfield if he's not careful. Here they come again. Stansfield gets back on the inside of Barlow. It's just like old times. And he cuts across him. Now Moy's going to get up the inside of Barlow and gets 5th position. Good move from Moy. Meanwhile, Evans has got Massarala breathing down his neck for the race lead. Massarala's going to have a go at Evans into the boot once again. Massarala's tied up behind the race leader. Evans is trying to shake Massarala off, and here comes Dimolo up the inside for Stanley. Keeps committed to the inside, leaves him space, but he's still side by side and has to let Stanley go. Here comes Massarala making the bid for the lead. Up the inside of Evans, and he's going to take the lead for the first time in 2018. Massarala hits the front in the seniors. In the Super Elites, Massarala leads. Evans in second, third is Walden, then it's Stansfield. Walden, Moy, then George Friday has moved up past Stanley and Dimolo, and then it is Jason Bradbury in front of Ben Yeomans fighting forward. What a dramatic race this is turning into, as Evans now has got to try and shake off Dan Walden while getting back past Tom Massarala. But Massarala really goes well at Whilton Mill. He loves this circuit, and this is turning into quite a battle. Now Dimolo's managed to get past both Stanley and Bradbury in recent times. Up to 7th has come Friday, by the way. Friday's on an absolute flyer here, into 7th position. So Tom Massarala is leading the way here, cheered on at home by Steve Martin. Steve and Will, of course, are on the touring car bill these days as they race in Ginetta Juniors. Good luck for Croft, by the way, guys. But into the bottom of the hill, through Oziers and out onto the back straight again. Tom Massarala leading the way here in the Super Elites in front of a very feisty Richard Evans. Evans trying to get past, he ends up losing a bit of ground. Dan Walden chasing him down. And in next up is Tyrone Stansfield. They continue to push. Evans using plenty of curb through Crook. He comes out of oblivion running wide. And Dan Walden may get a run of him up towards Christmas. Evans moves to cover. Stansfield still 4th. Barlow in 5th. Moy is 6th. Then it's Friday. Dimolo, Stanley, Bradbury, Yeomans and Hitch. With Ian Williams having recovered to 13th in front of Checkley. Patience, then Darling. And that's the end of them because we have no Burns and no Pierce. And up the inside, that's for second. Dan Walden gets through. Walden's through for second on Massarala because Evans has got to the lead. And into second place has gone Dan Walden. Massarala third. Still a long way to go though. 4 minutes 20 plus the additional lap. It's anybody's guess who's going to win this one. But Evans and Walden are first and second now. Can Dan Walden fight through to the victory? Evans has retaken the lead. Walden is close in behind. Then it's Massarala, Stansfield, Barlow, Moy, Friday and Dimolo. This is the closest battle we have seen all season for a victory in the Elites. And here comes Barlow, has a quick look up the inside of Stansfield, doesn't get there. Massarala a late lunge onto the back of Walden. But Walden hangs on a second. Friday's getting tighter up behind Oliver Moy. Friday having the best race of his season by absolutely no doubt at all. He's in there in front of Sam Dimolo. The top 8 all close together, but this battle is bringing 9th to 12th into the mix as well. Stanley, Bradbury, Yeomans and Ben Hitch are all very much in contention too. This is definitely the closest race of the 2018 season in the Elites. Amazing how it's unfolding. And it looks like Barlow having another go at Stansfield. Walden and Massarala tied up behind Evans once again, but Evans holds the lead for the moment as they come out of Inkermans, up towards Ashby, into the right. Good run off the turn. Still, there's a good battle building up here as Evans cannot quite get away from Dan Walden. Walden trying to stay with Massarala as Stansfield still holds Barlow at bay. Moy's in 6th place. Friday getting very racy in behind Oliver Moy, and Sam Dimolo being quite patient in 8th position by his standards. They come off the turn and over the line once again. Still, Richard Evans in front of Dan Walden. Massarala, Stansfield, Barlow, Moy drifts wide. Friday's going to get him on the way out of oblivion. Friday's going to move up into 6th place here, and Barlow's going to make the lunge on Stansfield. But Friday through into 6th position further back. The top 6 for George Friday. That's the first time he's been that high this season. And now Dimolo's going to make the move on Moy. Contact! Moy didn't give over, and Sam Dimolo hits him. Oh, Oliver Moy out of the race. Let's have a look at it again. Dimolo wanted to follow through on the inside of Friday. They both turned into the same bit of track. Dimolo was already alongside him. I'd say a racing incident there, really, but Oliver Moy did not concede the corner when he thought It was all going wrong. And now Oliver Moy is going to make it back to the pits. Game over for Oliver Moy. Dimolo has recovered in 9th place behind Stanley and Bradbury, but it's game on for the win. Here comes Walden up the inside into Christmas and takes the lead. Absolutely terrific. So a great finish is in the offing for Dan Walden if he can hang on in front of Richard Evans. Oh, sensational racing. It's a great move. And now Dan Walden becomes the 3rd different leader, the 4th different leader, because we had Matthew Pearce in the early stages with a broken bumper. Then we had Evans, then we had Massarella, then Evans took it back, and now Dan Walden is leading as he comes out of the toe of the boot with 1:06 on the clock, plus the additional lap that goes with it. By my math, that's 3 to go. On the far side, Massarella's reeling in Evans. He might get another opportunity to move up into 2nd position, and that would be his best result as a senior. Massarella going well here, really well here behind Evans. And still, Richard Evans, frustrated no doubt, sat there in 2nd position behind Dan Walden. Still, he can't quite get the victory to come together. It's going to be yet another 2nd place for Richard Evans. If it stays like this, it will be his 4th runner-up spot of the season. But what an exciting battle this has turned out to be. Dan Walden has yet to finish in the top 3, other than, of course, the first race. He had not yet finished in the top 3, but Evans is going to come back and take the lead into turn 1 through Crook, and Evans gets the lead back again. Walden's going to get straight back onto him with 2 to go. We're on the last lap, in fact. So now, no wonder Evans went for the move there. I don't think Walden saw him coming, and now Massarella's going to try and get through. It's not going to happen. Stansfield and Barlow very close, but Evans is going to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat there. So here they come. Evans is going to get the victory after all with a superb overtaking move. And now Friday's going to try and come past Barlow. He has to hang back, but 6th position will be a great reward for Friday. But it's a victory at last in 2018 for Richard Evans. Walden 2nd from Massarella in 3rd. 4th for Stansfield, 5th for Barlow. A brilliant 6th for Friday, and we've had an incident on the last lap there between Yeomans and Williams. Williams has come out of the kart, and Yeomans has parked the car nearby, and that's on the last lap of the race. So a bit of an incident there. Yeomans is complaining of a bit of a problem with the wrist there. So I think we're going to have some medical attention at the end of this race for 2 of the drivers, as Williams has found himself out of the kart there at the side of the road. So hopefully he will be okay. But Richard Evans with the victory. At long last, Richard Evans taking the win in front of Dan Walden and Tom Massarella. What an amazing start to the weekend it's been for those guys, as Richard Evans finally claims a victory, and that's the one he wanted. Walden in 2nd in the end, Massarella 3rd from Stansfield, Barlow and George Friday in the top 6. He'll be happy with that. 7th for Stanley, 8th for Bradbury, 9th for Dimolo. Then it's Ben Hitch in 10th position from Will Checkley and Solomon Patience, with David Darling in 13th and Ben Yeomans in 14th position in front of, who was it that came through? Of course, Yeomans unfortunately classified along with Ian Williams as a non-finisher, as those two obviously had their coming together on the last lap. We then have Yeomans and Williams out of the race. Only 13 drivers coming across the line in that very dramatic race then. Yeomans and Williams out. Moy out of the race, of course, after that tussle with Sam Dimolo. Dave Burns and Matthew Pearce out of the race as well, with Matthew Pearce having a mechanical problem, or certainly a cosmetic problem with the car, a broken rear bumper. I'm not sure what happened to him to have that problem in the first place. But obviously, our priority at the moment is medical attention for the driver involved in that incident, Ian Williams, and obviously for Ben Yeomans as well. So on the radio side of things, we're going to take a pause while that is being sorted, because it's going to be a few minutes on the live stream. Do stay tuned. We'll bring you up-to-date news as it happens. But it's Dan Walden who just misses out on a victory from Richard Evans, who takes a brilliant victory in the pre-final of the Super Elites. The finals are coming up next. Well, It's been two great finals then from the cadets and the juniors. We have our elites final to come now, and it looks like it's going to be a very interesting battle. Thus far, we've had two hat-tricks from Oakley Keatley and Harry Graham. There will be no hat-trick this time because Matthew Pearce will obviously be fighting from the back of the grid after winning race 1 and having a mechanical problem that put him out in race 2. Not entirely sure what it was that caused all of that. I didn't see, unfortunately, but I'm sure that that will be explained later. But the second victory of the weekend, after an absolutely brilliant battle going to Richard Evans in a sensational battle. Will there be 3 different race winners? That's the big question, because the Super Elites have been very exciting so far this weekend. Coming into this weekend, it had been all about one man, Sam Faulkner. But now there is a lot more to come from these guys because the battle is going to be very, very tight. And having had 2 different winners from the first 2 races, maybe this man can get there. Tom Massaralla, the 302, so close to the win in race 2. Genuinely consider him as a talented driver to go for the victory. He's a good choice. He's a good bet. And considering how well he's been going so far here today at Whilton Mill, he could get the job done. Harry Barlow on the same row of the grid with him. He's going to be a tough challenger. Or I've just been told, actually, that there's going to be 2 non-starters for this one. One of those, of course, is going to be Tom Snape, having hurt his ribs earlier on. And after his accident earlier on, Ian Williams has elected not to take the start of the final. And I can understand why, actually. He's probably feeling quite rough and groggy. But for those who didn't see earlier on, he was involved in an incident on the last lap of the pre-final in the Elites with Ben Yeomans. Yeomans will take up the start of this final, but Ian Williams has elected not to. It looked pretty horrific, but fortunately he is okay, just for a bit of bruising. So he will continue on and have a great run as a result of it. Hopefully next time out when we see him at Glanagors Park, he will be much better for it. A little bit of a breather as a spectator this time. Well, the Super Elites are going to be tight, we know that much, and there's a lot of great battles to come because a lot of drivers are going to want to put on a good final show. And as the drivers come out onto the dummy grid, they will all want to finish their weekend on a high. 2 winners thus far, Matthew Pearce and Richard Evans. Could we get a 3rd different winner? I guess we're about to find out. So the drivers are going to put on the best possible effort they can to have a good fight. But one man that everybody suddenly seems to be talking about again, and they're watching him from all over the world, right the way across to the Antipodean part of the world. Down under, they are watching him. George Friday broke into the top 6 in that second race. And he is definitely having a very confident run in this latter stage of the weekend. He's been working his way back up to the front over the last 3 or 4 meetings. And here today, there he is. George Friday just getting himself ready. Big smile for the Australians watching on the other side of the world. Having fought his way to the top 6. That's where he deserves to be, and he's fought his way back there. They've been working very hard to get his weight down because, of course, he was one of the Masters last year, and they have a They had a higher minimum weight restriction last year compared to the Super Elites, but their minimum weight has dropped. The Super Elites have increased. Carol trying to get some cheeky TV time there. Stop hogging the limelight, Carol. How dare you? Anyway, we're talking about George Friday making his progress and now into the top 6 here in the Super Elites. He's done an absolutely fantastic job. There's a man who's fighting forward. Sam Dimolo just getting himself back up to speed, having had that mechanical problem in race 1. His entire weekend has been compromised points-wise since then, but he is getting on with it. That man, however, Harry Barlow, has a genuine chance to win the whole thing here today and go for the victory in the final. Chatting away with his rivals. The great thing I love about this championship, even at Elites level, is you just look at Tyrone Stansfield chatting away there. That is Dave Burns getting himself into position as well as he has one final conversation before he gets into the car. But this championship is full of great races, and I have to say, if I wasn't a commentator, I would race in this, and I'm hoping that in 2 weeks' time, when we go club racing with the Rissington Kart Club, there'll be enough seniors to make a grid, and I can embarrass myself out behind the wheel of a 125. Hopefully there's enough seniors who will do it, and if there are any seniors on the sidelines watching, please go and race at Rissington in 2 weeks' time. I want to be on the grid. Richard Evans and Dan Walden will be on that front row of the starting grid then for the Super Elites final. Tom Massaralla and Tyrone Stansfield on the second row. Harry Barlow and George Friday will be on row 3 from Elliot Stanley and Jason Bradbury. Rounding out the top 10 is going to be Ben Hitch, and for his best finish for a long time, Will Checkley, starting from P10. He'll be very happy with that, and he'll swear blind that it's his girlfriend who's helping him on the mechanics side of things that's his lucky charm. Solomon Patience and David Darling, 11th and 12th in that one from Sam Dimolo, fighting back to 13th with Ben Yeomans. Ian Williams and Oliver Moy, both caught out, unfortunately, but Williams, of course, will not take the start. Oliver Moy in 16th on his own then. Dave Burns and Matthew Pearce will be together on 17th and 18th of the starting grid. And then, of course, Carl Watt will be on his own on the 10th row of the grid because Tom Snape will not take up the restart due to his problems with his ribs. And Ben Cook, hopefully, will take up 21st on the starting grid, although he didn't start race 2, so we're not sure how that one's going to go. But at the front of the field, it's Richard Evans trying to make it 2 wins out of 3 this weekend. He has fought very hard indeed, Richard Evans, for that first victory. We thought it was going to come last time out at fullback, of course, when he'd done all the hard work on the road. But unfortunately, with 3 laps to go, the cart started to cry, enough, I can't do this anymore. And Richard Evans, to be fair, did every trick in the book to keep the car going, including using his hand to control the throttle on the engine, and heroically kept the lead until the very last lap when his fingers started to go numb. He wasn't able to get there, unfortunately. Mark Lawrence is watching from Edinburgh, having missed his flight. He'll now have to wait until Glanagorse Park, the first heat, to make his 250th race start. He does, however, wish good luck to all the elites, especially all ACR drivers. So Mark Lawrence will be back, rather sheepishly, with his tail between his legs, no doubt, as he flies from Scotland to Wales 4 weeks' time for the Glanagorse Park meeting, where he will there finally get his 250th race start. And I'm delighted to see that Ian Williams has just passed my position and he's on his feet. He's all right. He's, let's put it this way, he knows what Mike Tyson feels like. He's had a bit of a war, let's put it that way, with the concrete here at Whilton Mill. He knows this place very well. I didn't think he was ever going to know it that intimately. Anyway, he's all right, fortunately, and still smiling, hobbling a bit. But hey, chicks dig scars. It's no problem. Don't worry about it. So Ian Williams will be slightly frustrated, but fortunately, Ian Williams-shaped spectator. He's still in one piece, which is very good. And we will obviously have him back to his best and full physical fitness again, hopefully in time for Glanagorse Park when we go into the second half of the season before our summer break. And I'll tell you what, Super Elites have definitely been particularly competitive this weekend. How do you make Super Elites particularly intense? Easy. Tell Sam Faulkner to stay at home. I'm not going to tell Sam Faulkner I said that, obviously. Suddenly just realised he's watching at home, isn't he? Sorry, Sam, I'll buy you a pint. At Glanagorse, the drinks are on me, mate. No, fair enough. I mean, he did win the first 9 races of the year. I'd take him away, and it's been very open. Matthew Pearce and Richard Evans have both been on the top step of the dais thus far, but who's going to walk away with the biggest trophy to walk home with? We already know who's going to walk away as the top Grand Master. That is going to be David Darling, as the others have obviously been depleted by various means. A couple of them due to financial difficulties, and one of them due to not being able to get on an aeroplane. Honestly, Mark, you had one job to do. Anyway, we'll get him back, no problem, at Glanagorse Park. And Richard Evans will line up on that front row of the starting grid with Dan Walden. A lot of support for Dan Walden back home as well as here at the track, as everybody wants to see Dan Walden take his first victory of the 2018 season in Super Elites 125. And I have to say, in this 2018 season, if you can win a race when it's combined with the Elites from last year, the Masters from last year, and the top junior drivers from last year as well, if you can win a race in this field, it's worth every single second. The waiting is finally over. The last race of the weekend is about to get underway. We are ready for it, and they are ready for action. The green flag flies as Andy Cox does his best Megan impression as they go out onto the circuit once again. And it's the last time. The last time for these guys, the last race of the weekend, and I can see that Ben Cook has got out onto the circuit for this final. Check out the fans there, all watching. Many of the cadets and juniors have taken themselves away from their awnings as well. They don't want to pack up just yet. They want to see the Elites final, because this has historically, over the last 3 weekends, been the best race of the weekend, the Elites final. You've only got to look back to Fullbeck 2 weeks ago when Faulkner was facing the wrong way at the first chicane in last place and somehow fought back to the victory. This time there's going to be a completely different winner, but I have a feeling it's going to be just as intense. We've got drivers fighting back from out of position. Sam Dimolo and Ben Yeomans fighting their way forward. We've got some very deserving drivers up the sharp end. The juniors are mixing it up at the head of the field. George Friday is on the resurgence up in the top 6, and he's going to be a factor. He could even get to the podium this time. So there's plenty of intrigue in this one. Lots of drivers wanting to come to battle. So let's see. Mark Lawrence has just told us that this is actually the first race he's missed in 12 years. So fair play to him, considering that that's the first time he's ever missed a round of the birelART UK Series Championship, and that's including when he was ill earlier this year, of course. He still came and he still raced. So fair play to Mark Lawrence. 12 years we've run the birelART UK Series, and he's never missed a round until today. And it would be the round he's set to do his 250th start. But we'll give him a massive party at Gladygorse Park, no doubt. Jim Rainbird watching as well. It's a shame you're not here, or you didn't bring your cart so I could have a play. I'll shush now. Dan Walden alongside Richard Evans on that front row of the grid. Evans on pole position. Can he convert that into the lead through Crook and Oblivion? Let's find out. Engine revs rise. They'll be in the tram lines for a good start. Is it going to be a clean one? Yes, it is. Let's go racing. And Walden's going to try and cut across and takes the lead straight away. So Walden into the lead early doors from Evans in second. Marsarella is third. Then it is Stansfield. Friday's trying to get up the inside, and he's going to get some assistance from Bradbury around the outside. Barlow's going to hold off George Friday, who holds on to 6th position for the moment, but he's followed through by Jason Bradbury, who's now got Elliot Stanley to his left. They go through Ashby. Will Checkley's in the mix there with Ben Hitch. Carl Watt has got Sam Dimolo behind him, and Yeomans has had to concede to David Darling for the moment. Matthew Pearce trying to fight his way forward as well. Sam Dimolo gets the move on Solomon Patience. Then it's Darling. Then it is Matthew Pearce in front of Dave Burns. Then it is Carl Watt. Ben Yeomans has slipped back a little bit. So here they come out of the end of the first lap, and it's Dan Walden who leads from Evans, Massarella, Stansfield, Barlow, Friday and Bradbury. Matthew Pearce makes up another place as he gets on the inside of David Darling. Dave Burns is going to get through as well as he makes his move on the inside. So here they come once again. Jim Rainbird just telling us he's fishing while he's watching this. Oh well, from one extreme sport to the other, I guess. Dan Walden leads the way though. Second place, still going strong for Richard Evans as he's got Massarella tight in behind him. They will continue to tussle. Evans is trying to drop Massarella and go for Walden. Can he lead by example? They come through on the far side. Now is this going to be a victory day as for our third different winner? Dan Walden, or maybe even Massarella. Evans is hoping not. Massarella's closed them both up though on this lap. So Evans runs out deep. Massarella's going to try and go for the move. Evans moves to cover him off. And into 4th place is going to go Harry Barlow. He gets the move on Tyrone Stansfield. So Barlow gets into 4th place past Stansfield. 6th place is still George Friday in front of Bradbury. And there's a bit of a warning for contact there for Matthew Pearce, who of course is trying to make up places. He's got past Patience, Burns, Darling, and he's also got past Carl Watt and Ben Yeomans as well. So a reasonable start for Matthew Pearce, but the marshal's obviously deciding that he needs to calm down a little bit as Elliot Stanley makes the move on Jason Bradbury into the boot and moves up another place. So that's Stanley through in a 7th place. Walden leads from Evans, Massarella, Barlow, Stansfield, Friday, Stanley, Bradbury, Checkley and Dimolo. Here comes Will Checkley making the move on Jason Bradbury. Bradbury moves to hold him off, and Dimolo's going to be the next one in the line. So Dimolo there behind Will Checkley. I have to say, Will Checkley looks like a completely different racing driver. This new mechanic of his is absolutely brilliant, clearly. Sorry, Mr. Checkley, but there's a point to this. There really is. Will Checkley's doing an absolutely fantastic job there. Harry Barlow, meanwhile, is doing one too. He's caught up to the back of the leading 3, and is now giving Massarella a run for his money. Meanwhile, Matthew Pearce has made his way past Ben Hitch. Hitch gets him back again. Matthew Pearce is going to try. Matthew Pearce has come off the road. Matthew Pearce went off for the final turn. And that's caused absolute pandemonium in the carts behind him. But Matthew Pearce went off the road at the final turn there after being squeezed by Ben Hitch. But Dan Walden leads the way here. Really good start to proceedings in this race from his point of view. So Walden leads it. And there's a penalty being handed out to Ben Hitch. Now, I have to say, under the circumstances, that doesn't really surprise me, because it did look to me as though Hitch just ran Matthew Pearce completely out of road. So he's going to get a penalty for that. Oh, and David Darling's come off the road there as he battles away with Carl Watt and Ben Yeomans. So some good battles so far. Dan Walden leads the race from Richard Evans. Massaralla, Barlow, Stansfield and Friday very close together, actually. I think I was told earlier in the weekend by one of the members of Friday's crew that they were going to see how this weekend went and make a decision. ... I don't quite know what decision they're on about. Oh, and Barlow's made the move on Massaralla. Very late doors there into Ashby, and Barlow through in a third position. So Barlow gets past Massaralla. Stansfield's now fifth, Friday in sixth position. I was just about to finish with the point to say that the Friday crew are going to do this weekend and make a decision. I have a feeling they'll make a positive one after this. He's right up in the top six and he's got what it takes. And there's a warning flag for Harry Barlow. Clearly they felt that that move on Tom Massaralla was a little bit below the belt. But he's through into third position regardless. Meanwhile, Richard Evans is not giving up on Dan Walden. He's right behind him. Seventh place, still a good scrap. That's Elliot Stanley with Jason Bradbury and Sam Demelow battling away. Sam Demelow just trying to pick them off one by one. But he's got to time it right. Much harder championship season in 2018 for Sam Demelow, but he likes it that way. He wanted a challenge, and my goodness, he's certainly got one. Now, there's a track limit warning for the race leader, Dan Walden. Goodness me. Dan Walden's been given a warning for track limits. He's got to be very careful here. He doesn't want to push it too hard, because if he does, then there's a great chance that he'll get a penalty, and that will be Richard Evans' victory anyway. So he's got to be very careful how he goes about it. He's got to place the cart in exactly the right places at exactly the right times. Oh, he goes a little bit wide, and Evans very nearly gets him on the undercut, and there's contact. Bradbury and Stanley have come together at Christmas. So Bradbury and Stanley a little bit too close together, and it ends in fisticuffs. I kind of want to see that one again, I have to say, because that was, I'm not sure if that was 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, or somebody at the ultimate blame of that one. Bradbury gets back past Stanley for good measure. Let's look into the hairpin. Bradbury had Stanley lined up, made the move. Stanley thought he could give him round the outside, and Bradbury is being given a penalty for it. Interesting. So they've obviously decided that Bradbury is going to get a penalty for that. When looked from the outside camera, I think that's maybe a difficult decision to make, but obviously the officials have seen something they don't like and decided to hand a penalty out to Jason Bradbury, and Elliot Stanley has got away with that one for the moment, but I think both of them have actually brought their cars into the pits. So it looks to me as though, are they still racing? Oh yes, they are still going. Well, Bradbury is, but Elliot Stanley is not. Have you seen the lead battle right now? Dan Walden's got Evans, Barlow, Massaralla, Stansfield and Friday all in the mix. 6 of them in the hunt for the victory. This is terrific stuff. So Walden is not able to stay that far in front of Evans without letting the others come close to him, because there's now 6 of them squabbling for the victory. It could be any one of them that gets there. And 7th behind this queue is Sam Demelow. Walden is going defensive already. We've got 6.5 minutes of this race, and he's defending from Richard Evans. Now that's going to close up Sam Demelow, and behind him is Will Checkley. Checkley's in 8th place. A great race this is for Will Checkley. Definitely his best race for a long time. He can see the leaders in front of him. And I tell you what, after the 18 months he's had, he's going to be jumping for joy if he gets out of the cart in this particular position. They come off the cart together through Crook and Oblivion. Ben Hitch in 9th. 10th is now Matthew Pearce. Then it's Solomon Patience and Ben Yeomans, Burns and Darling. And then we have Jason Bradbury in 15th place. Carl Watt, I think, has had a technical problem and is out of the race, unfortunately. Yes, Carl Watt's brought it into the pits. A second covers the top 6. That's how close it is right now. Sam Dimolo, Checkley and Ben Hitch are closing, and so too are Matthew Pearce. I have a feeling this is going to be a rip-roaring last 5.5 minutes. But it's 5.5 minutes plus that one extra lap, of course. So it's still going to go all the way down to the final hurrah. As Dan Walden leads the way here. Second position, Richard Evans. Third is Barlow. Fourth is Massarella. Fifth is Stansfield. Sixth is Friday. Seventh is Dimolo. Eighth is Checkley. Ninth is Hitch. And 10th is Matthew Pearce. And if they keep battling, all 10 of them are going to be in a line for the victory. This could end up being one of the best Super Elite races the championship has ever seen. And last time out at Fullbeck was pretty hectic, to be fair. So let's see if they can improve upon that this time. Walden still hangs on from Evans. They've got 8 drivers behind them, pretty much in a queue. Third is Barlow, then it's Massarella, Stansfield, Friday, Dimolo, Checkley, Hitch and Matthew Pearce fighting back after his race 1 victory to 10th position at the moment. But there's still time to make up. 5 more karts in the running. They are Yeomans, Patience, Burns, Darling and Bradbury. But Walden still hangs on in front of Evans. Third position, Harry Barlow still trying to get one over on Richard Evans to move up into the top 3. Had a good run recently at Marienborg, Harry Barlow. Did a good job there in the European Championships he competes in X30. But he's now battling for a victory in the Elites, in the birelART UK series that he loves so much. Massarella in 4th, Stansfield in 5th place. George Friday with support from down under, doing a great job in 6th place. Can this continue? When's the big up-tempo overtaking move going to come? Up to Christmas again. Walden hangs on to the lead. Supports and love hearts from Sam Faulkner back home, watching, frustrated that he's not racing, but delighted that the man who is leading at the moment is Dan Walden. Second place is still Richard Evans, looking for a second win of the weekend, second win of the season. But Harry Barlow there in 3rd position wants some of it too. 4th place is Massarella. Stansfield's getting some support from George Friday. Sam Dimolo, the reigning Masters champion, is still there in 7th. Then it's Will Checkley, Ben Hitch and Matthew Pearce, and they are now all together. Dan Walden sets his personal best lap of the race thus far. And there's 3 seconds covering 1st down to 10th. That's how tough it is, with 3 minutes plus 1 lap to go. And surely there's going to be a bit of an intriguing battle coming into the closing stages of this race. At the moment, it's like the Spanish Grand Prix from 1981, when 5 of them were nose to tail and Gilles Villeneuve hung on like a thread to the victory. But at the moment, it is still very, very tight indeed with these guys as they continue to battle. Walden leads the way, Evans in 2nd, Barlow 3rd, Massarella close in 4th. Then it's Stansfield, Friday, Dimolo and Checkley. Pearce has got past Hitch up into 9th place now. So Matthew Pearce is now through into P9. Damage limitation for the rest of this weekend from Matthew Pearce after retiring in race 2. But he's fought his way up to 9th. Some good points on the board. So can he keep this rolling? We'll see how it goes, but Dan Walden is looking strong right now. 2nd place, Richard Evans. 3rd is your man, Harry Barlow, still pushing on. Massarella, Stansfield, Friday, Dimolo, Checkley, Pearce and Hitch. Still a great battle, still very tight as we go into the closing stages. 1 minute and 40, plus 1 bonus lap to go. And will this overtaking move come from Richard Evans? He's certainly looking a little bit more hungry. He seems to have eased off a little bit to give Dan Walden that false lull of security. He's going to spend this lap getting onto the back of him once more, and then surely that move will come. But Dan Walden is hanging on for the moment in front of Richard Evans. Evans is sizing him up for Inkermans. Can he make the move into Ashby? Yes, he's there! Brilliant from Evans. He takes the lead. Oh, that was beautifully sized up. He made that look from a long way back, very hard to pull off, but Richard Evans knew the opportunity was there. He caught Dan Walden out, and now he's left him for dead. Richard Evans is going to sweep by and keep this lead in earnest. And as he comes over the line this time by, he's got 1 minute and 5 to go, plus 1 lap. Or make that 44 seconds, actually, plus 1 lap. But Evans is not a million miles ahead of Whilton yet. Whilton is still going to try and make up some ground with late braking into Christmas. He's got Barlow close in behind for company. Matthew Pearce has caught up to the back of Will Checkley too. So from first down to ninth, they are all in a line. Evans, Walden, Barlow, Massarella, Stansfield, Friday, Dimolo, Checkley and Pearce. Now they've got Ben Cook in front of them. Blue flags fly. He's got to get out of the way. Yes, you've got to let them all go. Oh, you've got to let them all go. Walden is held up there a little bit. And now this field sweeps by. Cook realises that he's got to let them all go. He gets onto the grass to get out of the way. But that is heaven sent for Evans. And he had 2 laps to go as he came through that time by. So Evans is going to be okay here. 2 to go. Because he had, I think, 2 seconds to go when he came across the line. So Evans is going to have a penultimate lap to run. And Walden is doing everything he can to catch him back again. So I don't think this victory's done yet. It's still Richard Evans from Dan Walden in second as they come out of Parker, down towards Oziers. This is going to be a really good battle. Out of Oziers, down the back straight. Up towards the square left at the ankle of the boot. Into the heel. They will go for this end of the lap, and into the last lap they will go. Here they come again. Last lap. Here we go. Can Dan Walden overhaul Richard Evans? Harry Barlow looks reasonably safe in third, with a bit of a gap to Massarella. Then Stansfield, Friday, Dimolo, Checkley and Pearce. Here goes Walden for the lead in Christmas, and he's there. Dan Walden takes the lead on the last lap. Beautifully done. Evans is going to try and come back at him. Walden defends to cover the inside of Ashby. Evans is going to try and get him on the inside line. He's on the grass. Barlow's threatening to come round the outside. But Walden's through into the lead. They tighten up. Evans is going to make a late lunge into Oziers on Walden. He doesn't get there. 4 corners to go. And it's all tightened up. Stansfield's going to try and come past Massarella into 4th place of the boot. They go together. Watch Friday round the outside of Dimolo. Walden's going to come out the turn. Walden's won it. Dan Walden wins in fantastic style. What a race. What a battle. What a finish to the weekend. Dan Walden wins it from Richard Evans. Harry Barlow in 3rd position. Tom Massarella hangs on for 4th in front of Tyrone Stansfield and George Friday, and they were all covered by less than a second. Dimolo is 7th from Matthew Pearce in 8th. Will Checkley will be elated with 9th place. And 10th position for Ben Hitch. Yeoman's 11th from Dave Burns, Solomon Patience, David Darling and Jason Bradbury. What a result for Dan Walden, the race winner. 3 different winners in the Elites this time. A win for Matthew Pearce in race 1, a win for Richard Evans in race 2, but in the final, it's Dan Walden who gets his first win of 2018. What a season it's going to be in the second half with the Elites. Evans is 2nd from Harry Barlow. 4th is Tom Massarella. 5th is Tyrone Stansfield from George Friday. Sam Dimolo is 7th from Matthew Pearce. Will Checkley is 1.3 seconds off the win. That's like a fairy tale for him. Ben Hitch is 10th. Yeoman's 11th from Dave Burns, Solomon Patience and David Darling in front of the last man home, Jason Bradbury, with retirements, unfortunately, for Carl Watt and Elliot Stanley. But what a sensational end to the day as the spots of rain on the camera lens up at Christmas signal that we just beat the weather in the nick of time. What an amazing weekend it's been. The 4th round of the championship. Let's watch that move from Dan Walden again. So beautifully timed. Evans saw it coming, thought he could respond straight away, but Walden kept that door firmly shut. Heroic victory, heroic move. And we're going to go off the live stream very briefly, but we will be back in time for the podium, of course, for the 3 championships. But it's been an amazing 4th round of the championship. And I will echo the sentiments of Stacey Yarnall watching on Facebook. Brilliant racing all day. I second that. And I think you've got a good couple of 100 people here who will back that up. Terrific racing. The next round of the championship, of course, is going to be in 4 weeks' time at Glanagos Park in North Wales. Please do come along. For all those racers who are watching, get your entries in. We know you want to race at GYG in the summer holidays. It's going to be absolutely terrific. We're looking forward to it. Join us again for the podium very shortly. But for those who are listening on the Downforce UK radio stream, we'll see you again at Glanagos Park. And a huge thank you to everybody here this weekend for making it such a fantastic weekend. Great finals victories for Oakley Keatley, Harry Graham and Dan Walden. 3 very happy drivers after a great day's racing in birelART UK.